Hey, YouTube folks, welcome to another video. And in today's video, guys, what we're going to see here is something that borders on the extraordinary, the fantastic, the incredible match that became known as the Brazilian Immortal. That's right. This match here is a very recent one. It was played just 2 days ago between none other than no one less. Who could it be? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, guys, it's none other than Than. Luis Paulo Super versus Magnus Carlsen. That's right. The super locomotive. We've never been so proud to be Brazilian. Luis Paulo Super Incredible against Magnus Carlsen. A locomotive that ran over the current world champion in an extraordinary way. This is not a match for the faint of heart. If you have a weak heart, close this video right now because what is going to happen here is simply extraordinary, incredible. So guys, how did this happen? On that day, Magnus Carlsen created an account on chess.com and was beating everyone there, winning against everybody, raising his rating from 0 to 3078, which is the rating he has at this moment, until he faced none other than Luis Paulo Super, the obstacle in the way of the world champion Magnus Carlsen, the super locomotive. So, everyone, get your tickets, take your seats, because the super locomotive is about to depart now. P.I.P.I. So, everyone, here we are, and playing with the white pieces was him, the super locomotive against Magnus Carlsen. Super opened with e4, the king's pawn move, favored by Bobby Fischer. And Magnus here replied with d5, thus responding with the Scandinavian defense. Super takes d5, queen captures d5, the knight moves to f3. Developing the pieces here on the king's side, already preparing to soon do the short castle. Magnus O played bishop to g4, pinning the knight on f3. Super responded with bishop to e2. Then knight to c6, and knight to c3 followed. A very natural move, developing a piece and gaining a tempo here against the black queen that's centralized. Magnus, with his queen threatened, retreats it to d7 to keep supporting and defending the bishop on g4. Super plays h3 in this position. A questioning move, wondering what Magnus Carlsen will do with his life. Or that bishop. If he's bringing the bishop back and giving up the pair of bishops, Magnus has now decided to do just that. He captured on f3, here comes bishop takes f3, followed by the move kingside castling, which is an interesting move because this move shows that Magnus Carlsen, he wants to play unbalanced positions, so he wants to play attacking positions. He might plan a pawn avalanche toward the white king's side next. Let's see how this locomotive game continues. Super in this position castled short, and the game continued here with knight to d4. Magnus's idea is to get back the pair of bishops, right? It's a pretty logical idea, but Super in this position kept playing with a4, starting his pawn avalanche against the black king, which is on the queen's side. So a very interesting move, a4, and also a very natural one. The game continued here with king to b8. Carlsen slightly improves his king's position, moving the king off this king and queen diagonal, right? That theme could appear much later. Right now, it doesn't make sense since there are many defenses against that move. But king to b8 is a move that's often played when you castle queenside with black. The game continued with knight to b5, a creative move by Super, proposing the exchange of knights and also putting a knight on the 5th rank. Magnus here didn't exchange the knights. He also decided to break the white bishop pair with knight takes f3. Queen takes f3 was played, followed by the move a6. So, Magnus, of course, he's really bothered by this knight here on the 5th rank, right? A knight on an advanced post is always irritating, especially near the king. Will Sup come back with this knight, as who would say? Armando bombed Sup in this position, never brought the knight back. He played this surprising c4 here in this position, and he's simply offering a piece here to the current world champion, Magnus Carlsen. Magnus took this knight. No, he didn't take this knight. Magnus played e5 here, so he's already preparing to develop the bishop. But why didn't Magnus Carlsen take this knight? Well, if Magnus takes the knight on b5 here, White aims to capture with the a-pawn to open the a-file for the rook. There's a strong attacking theme developing against black's position. Right after that, the bishop is also coming out. It's coming here. Moves like queen to a3 and several entries on the back rank. Deadly entries, right? So you have to be very careful. That's why Magnus avoided this line. Although if it were a game with more time, maybe this sacrifice wouldn't work. In a blitz game, sharp positions are risky since you'll have to find the best moves quickly, right? Magnus avoided the aggressive knight capture and played e5 to prepare developing the bishop from f8. Super in this position played another bomb. A very good move, a very creative move, and also a very difficult one. He played the move d4 here, sacrificing a pawn. So, at this moment, Super is sacrificing a piece, sacrificing a pawn, but Super's idea is very straightforward, to develop the pieces. That's all he's thinking about here. So, Magnus, in this position, took the pawn on d4 and Super managed to develop his bishop in a very direct and quick way. He moved to f4, applying pressure to c7. This is a great time for us to briefly analyze the position. Because notice that the white pieces are all developed, already attacking the black king. And notice that Magnus Carlsen still has all his pieces here, the minor pieces, right? On the 8th rank, so he hasn't developed his bishop or his knight yet. This is usually serious, so Magnus will try to speed up development in the next moves. Let's see how this game goes because the super locomotive is on the field. Well, the game continued with the move capturing here on b5. So Magnus, at this moment, he captures the knight. He already thought that knight being offered there was too much. But anyway, this is still a very dangerous move. But Magnus also had a very serious problem here at the c7 square. What did Super do? He took with the a-pawn to open the file for the rook so it can play. Now Magnus played bishop to d6, aiming to exchange pieces. Because since black has a piece advantage at this moment, right? Magnus wants to simplify the position, that's his idea. But he wasn't counting on a very precise move that Sup is going to make at this moment. It's a very refined move, really. Sup played here the simple and direct move. Rook to a2. When we see this move, it seems like the idea becomes much clearer, right? But it's not an easy move when you're actually playing, right? Super's idea is to move the rook from f to a1, doubling rooks on the a-file and aiming for checkmate on the 8th rank. With the king on b8, how will Magnus play this position? Magnus played d5, f5, f5, putting pressure on f4, right? Magnus's idea is simple. If Sup trades bishops, Magnus plans to swap queens. Sup should still have some counterplay, right? Bishop takes on c7 king, takes on c7, and then g takes on f3. And this is a favorable position for black, okay? Black has the advantage. They're up a piece, right? And they have a passed pawn. Super doesn't want to pursue this, but what's Super's idea? After all, Magnus is putting some pressure here on f4. Well, in this position, he played rook from f to a1. And he threatened nothing less than checkmates with tomatoes on the back rank. What did Magnus do? Magnus needs to find a way for his king to escape, right? So he played here with king to c8, which brings a very logical idea of escaping with the king through d7, against white's entry on the 8th rank. However, at this moment, comes the big move from Luis Paulo's Super, which will cause a very funny expression on Magnus Carlsen's face. That expression will appear right here above my head. As soon as we make this explosive, devastating, extremely refined, and terrible move, for the position of the world champion, Magnus Carlsen, Super is the one who dropped the bomb. Queen d6, surprisingly sacrificing the queen on move 17. And watch Magnus Carlsen's reaction up there. It's dirty. Wow. Magnus was really jaw-dropped by that move. It was a very refined move. And here, there's no way out anymore. There's no world champion who can solve this position because Super is threatening nothing less than checkmate with tomatoes on the next move. And Magnus resigned in this position, right here. He threw in the towel. There's nothing that can be done, okay? If Magnus takes the queen, then bxc6 follows. And notice that the pawn covers the escape squares of the black king. There's nothing to be done. The rook is invading the last rank, and the idea of mate here is inevitable. And this game by the locomotive Super Pippi was truly extraordinary. So, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a big like down below. Share this video with your friends who also like chess. I'm sure they'll really enjoy getting to know the super locomotive going through Magnus Carlsen. So, guys, I'm really happy you watched this video with me. See you in the next videos, everyone. Thanks.